I'm teaching now. Teaching.
Yeah, you're smart. She said that she was kicked out of her natural habitat.
Thank you for talking to me about everything. I'm sorry that I had to leave for my class. Ellipsis. Our next Twitch live stream will be Wednesday, June 25th at 7 o'clock p.m. everybody, and welcome to our week number 2 Twitch live stream for my 55502 intro psych class. I see a bunch of you getting logged in and joining me in the chat. Can you all hear me and see me okay? Can someone give me like a yes or a thumbs up in the chat? That would be super helpful. My cat is trying to step on the keyboard here. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you so much. So we are in week number 2. We're in the middle of our first and second week, weeks 1 and 2. So what I want to do today is just kind of go over what's going on this week. Big thing this week is our first exam, so I'll spend a bunch of time on that. But let's jump over to Canvas really quickly. And again, we are right here. So everything from weeks 1 and 2 is due by this Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. So if you haven't done the materials from week 1, make sure you get going on that. If you have already, then focus on week 2. But everything from weeks 1 and 2 is due by this Sunday night. So I talked about week 1 last week. We went over those chapters and the 2 discussions. So what I want to focus on tonight is week number 2, and this will be drastically shorter than last week where we were going through the entire class. So I'll give you a couple of reminders. We'll go through all the materials, and then I'll see if you have any questions for me and give you the extra credit question, probably about like 25 minutes or so in total. Okay, so for this week, we're looking at chapter 3 and chapter 4. And as always, you want to make sure you're doing 3 things for every chapter, right? You want to read the chapter in the ebook, read through the lecture, and then watch the lecture video. And so the lecture is this one here. Remember that the lectures are like a 5-tab format where you have the objectives and summary, beyond the book, in pop culture, key terms, and application. And you can also listen to them if you would rather. Also really important, click on any links, watch any videos. All of that together is going to be really helpful for you. The lecture videos are me lecturing to some PowerPoint slides. And then I recorded them. I posted them all on YouTube so that you can watch them from anywhere. But hopefully these will be really helpful. This is kind of like what you would experience if you took this with me in person, or you were listening to me lecture in a classroom. So again, remember for both of these chapters to do those things, just like you did last week for chapters 1 and 2. And just like last week where you had 2 discussions, you also have 2 discussions this week. So once you've done all of your reading, you can do discussion 3 and 4. Discussion 3 is related to chapter 3. And so let's take a look at that together. And as we talked about before, like always, you have my instructions up here at the top, followed by my video, which I would highly recommend that you watch. I go through all those like tips and suggestions for the discussion prompt. And then here is the prompt underneath it. So for this one, you're answering a couple of questions about neurons and the brain. You're also reading this little 10% myth article, which is going to be really, hopefully kind of interesting, but also describe to you the idea of the myth of that we only use 10% of our brain. So you'll answer what are neurons and why are they important. You'll talk about how neurons communicate with each other. Just a little heads up, this is the one where people tend to lose some points. I'm really looking to see that you mention something with electrochemical communication, both pieces of it, explain both of them. And then you're going to read this article and answer these 2 questions about that. So as soon as you're ready, you'll hit reply. And as you can see, several of you have already done this. Don't forget to also reply to a classmate to get those 2 points. So that is discussion number 3. And as always, I would suggest thinking about them as like little mini papers or essays. Really elaborate and show off your knowledge and understanding. Discussion number 4 is about sensation and perception. So just like the last one, you have my my instructions up here at the top, followed by my video. And then with this one, you're going to read an article and do a little experiment. And I hope you find the experiment to be fun. You're going to be looking at smell memories for this discussion. So you'll read this article, which is about how smell and memory are connected and how we can get these things called smell memories. And then you're going to gather a sample of like several different items. And I gave you some suggestions and you can pick whatever ones you would like. And you're going to close your eyes and smell those items and then write about your experience. See if you have any smell memories or associations. So did you experience any intense memories or associations? What did you try? Kind of describing your whole process. And then linking to the article, what are smell memories and why do they occur? Really showing off that you understand what happens. Explain to me how those connections are made. And then how can you use this knowledge between smell and memory in your personal life in some way? And again, you can see some of you have already answered this, but when you're ready, you'll hit reply, and then you'll also reply to a classmate to get those 2 points. As I mentioned in the beginning, there is a rubric right here if you would like to see, again, like what I'm expecting. Once these first 2 weeks end on Sunday night, probably on Monday next week, Monday or Tuesday, I will be grading everything. As a possibility, it might be Tuesday, but Monday or Tuesday, I'll be grading it. You'll see your scores, and then you can kind of use that as an indicator. But if you'd like to see what I'm expecting, there's a rubric and sample right here. Definitely better to give me too much rather than not enough. So the only other thing that's different, I'll obviously get to the extra credit in a little bit here, is we do have our first exam this week. So every even week you'll be taking an exam. And so exam number 1 is on these first 4 chapters, chapters 1, 2, 3, and 4, basically everything from weeks 1 and 2. And what I've done is I have created a study guide for you, which is just a compilation of all of the terms that are on that last, it's like the 4th page of the lecture, but I've put them together. And so if you click on study guide number 1, this has a list of everything that you need to know for the exam. This is your best friend when you're studying for the test. If it's on the study guide, it will be on the exam. If it's not on here, you don't need to worry about it. So chapter 1, 2, 3, and 4, make sure you know all of these terms. I've also given you the 2 diagrams that are on the exam that you'll be asked to identify the parts of. So make sure that you study this, that you prepare for it. I would recommend to you, because it's the first exam, better to over prepare than under prepare. If you have never taken a class with me and don't know what to expect, always better to be overly prepared. You don't want that moment where you wish you had done more, but it's never an awful thing to realize that you studied too much and you feel good. Okay, so definitely prepare, and I'll talk more about what that means in a moment. But remember that the exams are on the ebook site. So if you click here on exam number 1, it's going to remind you that you need to go to the ebook site to take this. So let's go there and take a look. And the exams on the Psyched ebook page are in the same location as where you took that mandatory orientation quiz. So you're going to click on exams up here at the top, and it's going to bring up a list of those instructions. So you'll scroll past that one, and then here are the instructions for exams 1 through 4. So with each of these exams, you have 75 minutes. And you get 1 attempt. So make sure that you're ready and organized before you begin. So once you start the exam, you're in it. There is a clock. Make sure you're watching the clock because it will stop you when the time expires. Make sure you're saving all of your answers, that they turn that like orange color like we did with the mandatory orientation quiz. But when I say ready and organized, a couple of things just to kind of increase your chances of being successful. First, make sure that you have 75 minutes to take the exam. Make sure you have good internet. Make sure that you have studied, you prepared, you have a quiet space to take the test. All of those things might seem like little things, but they're going to help you, right? Especially make sure, again, you have a quiet place, you have 75 minutes. The exam has, I believe, like 72 questions on it. It's roughly a minute per question. Most of the questions are multiple choice or true false. There are a couple of matching, no short answers or essays or anything like that. So the ones that are like true false, those ones are really, really quick. And then the matching ones and multiple choice make up the rest of the test. So if you don't know the answer to one of them, skip it and come back to it. Remember that the ones you skip turn that like gray color, so you can always skip it and come back. But definitely study and prepare. So the way that I've set this up is, if you study and prepare, you should be in really good shape. Most people take an average of about 58 to 61 minutes to complete the exam. And most people do quite well on them. They're very straightforward. I will never trick you on a test, but you do want to make sure that you study. So if it were me, and I'm one of those like meticulous straight A students, I would probably write out the entire study guide and have it in front of me. So if you go back and remember this study guide here on Canvas under week 2, what I would probably do is I would type up each one of these terms and I would have it all in front of me. So that way, let's say I get to pseudoscience, right? Which will be on the test, right? It's here on the study guide. I don't have to like flip through the book or flip through my notes or flip through the lecture trying to find it using that valuable time. I can just reference my study guide. If you do that, that's going to be really, really helpful. That's one of the biggest suggestions that I would have for you. And again, if you find that you did too much, you can always dial it back, but that's way better than the alternative of wishing that you had studied a little more. So the second that you're done with the test, you've saved everything and submitted it, it will give you a score, right away. You'll find out how you did. Remember that your scores don't come over to Canvas automatically. Okay, so don't stress if you don't see it in Canvas. You can always go up here to the little grade book on this website, and you can see what your score was here if you forget. But once the deadline passes, I will bring all those scores over. It just won't be right away. Okay, so this is where you can find the exam. Again, right here, here are the instructions, and when you're ready, you'll just hit begin your attempt. Just make sure that you're ready to go, because once you hit start, you are in it. And if you do have a memo with access, make sure that you reach out to me as soon as possible. Several of you already have done this, but if you have a memo, let me know so that I can make sure you have the accommodations that you need. Otherwise, you should all be set and ready to go. Again, that's like the big thing for this week. So if you haven't done week 1, make sure you work on that. But we're focusing here on week 2 since that is technically the week that we are in. So this week, 2 discussions and an exam. You also have an extra credit question, which I'll give you in a moment. And I'll post the recording of this a little bit later tonight once I've uploaded it and downloaded it. And there's always the little checklist here if you just want to make sure that you've done everything. So a couple of reminders for you. And if you have any questions for me, this would be a really wonderful time to put them in the chat. I would be happy to answer them if you have any. But a couple of reminders. The first one, if you have an opportunity, I'm sorry, that was from earlier. I wrote this out earlier, so I'm going to copy and paste it in. If you have the chance to figure out the subscription process, there's only a few of you who have done that. I would really appreciate it. It saves me a lot of time, not having to like match your names. I can just download it. So if you haven't figured out that Twitch subscription piece, please take a look at it. If you're watching this later as a recording, that's how you can still get those extra credit points. The other reminder I have for you, and I'll put this here in the chat, our next Twitch live stream will be on Wednesday, June 25th at 7 o'clock p.m. Okay, so we're back on schedule with our Wednesdays. I'm going to try and do Wednesdays at 7. That was our plan, but I did have kind of an off week last week and this week with some summer stuff. So we had today, but then we'll meet again next week on Wednesday the 25th at 7. And all of those days and times are put in the calendar in Canvas if you want to look at that just to kind of plan ahead. Otherwise, those are the big reminders I have for you. Let me give you the extra credit question and show you how to answer it. And then if you have any questions for me, this would be a wonderful time to put them in the chat. So let me copy and paste this, and this will help you a little bit, hopefully with your discussion this week, just kind of a little nod to what I'm looking for in the discussion. This is the week number 2 Twitch extra credit question. So this is worth 2 points. And again, you can get those 2 points by joining me live and answering the question, or being subscribed on Twitch and answering the question later on Canvas if you're watching this as a recording. So the question is, what is meant by electrochemical communication? Describe both pieces of how neurons communicate with each other, right? So what is meant by electrochemical communication, and then describe both pieces of how neurons communicate with each other. And when you're ready to answer that, you'll go to our week number 2, click on optional Twitch extra credit number 2 right here. And then up at the top, you can click on Start Assignment. And that brings up the box where you can type your response. And when you're ready and done, go ahead and hit Submit to get your confetti burst. And those look like pandas, why not? And then again, I'll be grading these kind of throughout the week, but definitely after the deadline is passed. And that's how you can get those 2 points, either joining me live and putting your name in the chat, or being subscribed and you're watching this later, and then answer, for both of those, answer that question right here. If I could received your access memo, if you want to send me a quick email, I can like look through that. I'd have to pull up all of that on here, which I don't want to pull all that up in front of everyone. But if you can send me a quick email either now or when we're done, I'd be happy to double check for you. That way you don't open the exam and start and then we have to do it again. Okay. So those are all the big reminders for this week. Again, week number 2, everything from weeks 1 and 2 due by this Sunday night. Good luck on the exam. Again, I will never trick you, so hopefully you all do really, really well. It's very straightforward. Just make sure that you've studied and prepared. What I will do is I'll hang out for a little bit. If you have any questions for me, you can put them in the chat. And if you don't, you're welcome to go and get started on everything from this week and last week if you haven't done it. I hope you all have a wonderful week. It's a nice and warm. It definitely feels like summer outside. But I hope you all have a great week. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I'm going to put that in the chat. I know the times have been a little all over the place. Or I should say the days have been a little all over the place. But we'll get back hopefully to like Wednesday nights starting next week. Okay, so I'll hang out for a little bit. If you do have any questions, feel free to put them in. Otherwise, if you think of it later, you can always email me. I do check my email quite frequently. But I hope you all have a wonderful night, a wonderful week. I'm going to minimize my video so I'm not staring at myself, but I will hang out for a little while if you do have anything you want to put in there. Otherwise, again, thank you. I hope you all have a great evening, and I'll hope to see you next week for our next Twitch live stream. Yeah, you can still do, yes, I'm going to put yes in the chat. You can still do the extra credit from week 1 all the way through this Sunday. Yes, so everything from weeks 1 and 2, including that, is due by Sunday night. Great. And Chris, I just got your email, so I will write you back. You're welcome. If you need to resubmit it, that's totally fine, right? So if you finished it and it wasn't quite right, or you need to resubmit it or add to it, you can just do another submission, and I'll see both of them, and that's totally fine. So yeah, for the extra credit. So if you didn't attend live, what you'll need to do, so you're not subscribed on Twitch, right? So the only way for me to document any kind of like attendance, if you will, is to subscribe on Twitch, and then you can answer the questions. So you joined me today, so just make sure you put your first and last name in the chat. And then you can answer the question that I just gave you in the chat right here where it says optional Twitch extra credit number 2. But if you'd like to go back to last week, you can watch the recording and answer the question right here. You just will need to find and go through all the subscription steps. And they're right here, right? So it's subscribing to Twitch and YouTube. It shouldn't cost you anything to do. You just have to follow a few steps to do it on Twitch, and that way I can record that you were there, if you will, that you did watch and view the video. I hope that helps. Of course, you're welcome. And I am still here for a few more minutes if any of you do have any other questions. All right, I'm going to hang out for another minute or two if any of you think of anything. Otherwise, of course, you can always email me later and I will definitely get back to you.